Hey, real quick, before we get into this, I want you to think about your Monday morning, like actually picture it. The alarm goes off, you're not ready, you're never ready. You hit snooze once, maybe twice, and then you just lay there, staring at the ceiling, doing that thing where your brain already starts running through emails you haven't answered, meetings you don't want to be in, and a commute that's going to take 45 minutes each way. And somewhere in that fog, a thought crosses your mind, a thought that most people have but never say out loud. Is this it? And then you get up anyway. You make the coffee, you do the commute, you sit in the chair, you do the 40 hours, you get the paycheck, you spend the paycheck, and then you do it all over again, week after week, month after month, year after year. And here's what's wild. Most people reading this right now have been doing that loop for years, some of you decades. And the scary part isn't that the system is hard. The scary part is that it's comfortable. Just comfortable enough that you never stop and ask the question nobody wants to ask. What if the 40-hour work week wasn't designed for you? What if it was designed around you? Look, I know that sounds like some conspiracy theory stuff, and I get it. But stay with me for a second, because what I'm about to show you isn't a theory. It's history, it's math. And once you see it, you genuinely cannot unsee it. But first, before we start, I'm Major. I post financial and self-development content daily. If you're enjoying the video so far, hit that subscribe button. All things said, DJ, hit the intro. So let's go back, way back, because this story doesn't start with your job. It starts with a man, a factory, and one of the most brilliant and quietly sinister business decisions ever made. The year is 1926. Henry Ford, yes, that Henry Ford, the car guy, does something that shocks the entire business world. He announces that his factories will move to a 5-day, 40-hour work week. At the time, most workers were doing 6 days a week, sometimes more. So on the surface, this looks generous, progressive, like Ford is out here being the good guy, fighting for the working man. But here's the thing, Henry Ford was not a philanthropist. He was one of the most calculating businessmen who ever lived. And the reason he cut the work week had nothing to do with worker welfare. Ford said it himself. And I want you to really hear this quote, because this is where the whole thing unravels. He said that workers need leisure time. Not to rest, not to recover, but to consume, to shop, to spend, to buy the cars his factories were producing. Let that sink in for a second. The man who popularized the 40-hour work week did it because he needed his workers to have enough free time to become his customers. He wasn't giving people freedom. He was engineering the perfect consumer. 2 days off, just enough time to go to the store, go to the dealership, go out to eat, but not enough time to think too hard, not enough time to build something, not enough time to question the loop you're in. That's the origin of your weekend. And the system has only gotten more sophisticated since then. Now, I want to be fair here, because Ford's decision did genuinely help workers in some ways. Wages went up, hours went down, and conditions improved. I'm not saying it was pure evil. What I'm saying is the intention behind the structure was never about your freedom. It was about keeping the economy moving. And the economy moves when people spend money. Think about it like this. Imagine you've got a hamster wheel. The hamster runs, gets tired, rests, eats, and then runs again. The wheel keeps spinning. The hamster thinks it's getting somewhere. But from the outside, it's going nowhere. The 40-hour work week is the hamster wheel. The paycheck is the food pellet. And the weekend is the rest cycle. Just long enough to recharge so you can run again on Monday. And the really uncomfortable part, and I mean genuinely uncomfortable, is that consumer spending is literally what holds the economy together. In the United States, personal consumption accounts for roughly 70% of GDP. 70%. That means the entire economic machine is dependent on regular people spending money they earn from jobs they might not love, on stuff they might not need, to signal a status they might not actually have. The system doesn't just benefit from your spending, it requires it. So how does this actually play out in real life? Because this isn't abstract. This is happening to you right now, probably in ways you haven't fully noticed. Here's how the cycle works at the street level. You start your first real job in your early 20s. You're making decent money, more than you've ever made. And that's the most dangerous moment, because what happens when income goes up? Lifestyle goes up with it. New apartment, nicer car, better phone, eating out more, subscriptions, gym membership you use twice a month, clothes for the job you need to look good at. Economists have a name for this. They call it lifestyle inflation, and it's not a personal failure. It's a deeply engineered response because the moment your paycheck goes up, there is an entire marketing machine that already knows about it, already has products ready for you, and has already calculated exactly what level of lifestyle you can just barely afford. This is why most Americans, and I want you to sit with this number, most Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. A 2023 survey from Lending Club found that 62% of Americans have no financial cushion, living paycheck to paycheck. And a significant portion of those people are not low income. These are people making $80,000, $100,000, $150,000 a year and still coming up empty at the end of the month. Because it's not about how much you make. It's about the gap between what you make and what the system has trained you to spend. Let me introduce you to a concept called the Diderot effect. Bear with me because this one is sneaky. Denis Diderot was an 18th century French philosopher, not wealthy by any means, but one day he received a beautiful scarlet robe as a gift and he loved it. But then something happened. He looked at his desk and the desk looked shabby next to the robe, so he replaced the desk. And then the new desk made the old chair look bad, so he replaced the chair. And then the room looked off, so he redecorated. One gift turned into a complete lifestyle overhaul that left him in debt. Diderot wrote about this himself. He said the robe was a tyrant that forced everything else to conform to it. Now imagine that effect multiplied by social media, targeted advertising, influencer culture, and a buy now pay later economy. Every new purchase creates a new standard. Every upgrade creates a new baseline. You buy the new car and suddenly the apartment feels too small. You upgrade the apartment and suddenly the wardrobe doesn't fit the vibe. You upgrade the wardrobe and you're wondering why you're still stressed. This is not an accident. This is a multi-trillion-dollar industry that has studied human psychology for decades to make sure that the feeling of enough never actually arrives, and all of it is funded by the paycheck from the job that requires the 40 hours. Now here's where it gets even more interesting and a little bit maddening if I'm being honest. Think about what you could actually do with 2 full days off every week if those days weren't pre-programmed to be spent recovering and consuming. 2 days is 104 days a year. That's roughly a third of a year, 3.5 months. If you took even a fraction of that time and put it toward learning a skill, building a side income, investing in assets, the trajectory of your life would look completely different in 5 years. But most people don't. And again, this isn't about laziness, it's about design. The weekend is structured to drain you, not develop you. Friday night, you decompress. Saturday, you run errands, social stuff, maybe some Netflix. Sunday, you do the slow creep of dread as Monday approaches. That's called Sunday scaries. And it's so common they gave it a name. And then Monday hits and you're back in the wheel. You didn't get 2 days off. You got a maintenance cycle. Okay, so I've been painting a pretty grim picture and I want to acknowledge that because I don't want this to be doom and gloom. I want this to be a wake-up call. There's a difference. The people who actually escape this loop, and there are people who they don't do it by working harder inside the system. They do it by understanding the system well enough to build a parallel track while they're still inside it. And this is the part where I want to get practical, because information without application is just entertainment. Here's what the people who break the cycle actually do differently. First, they close the gap between income and spending before they do anything else. Not by suffering, not by living on rice and water, but by being ruthlessly honest about the difference between what they need and what the marketing machine has convinced them they need. Here's a simple exercise. Go through your last 30 days of bank statements, every single charge, and for each one, ask yourself, did this move my life forward or did it keep me comfortable in the wheel? There's no judgment in that question, it's just data. But most people have never actually looked, and the numbers when you see them laid out are genuinely shocking. The average American household spends over $3,000 a year on subscriptions alone. Not rent, not food, subscriptions, things running in the background, quietly draining the account on stuff people forgot they even signed up for. That $3,000 invested consistently over 20 years at a 7% average return becomes over $120,000 from subscriptions. That's the math nobody talks about. Not the dramatic stop buying coffee advice, the real math on real spending compounding over real time. Second, and this is big, they stop treating the paycheck as the finish line and start treating it as raw material. Most people's relationship with their paycheck goes like this. Money comes in, money goes out, repeat. The paycheck is something you get so you can spend. But wealthy people, and I mean genuinely wealthy, not just high income, They treat every paycheck like it's a tool. A portion of it gets deployed into assets, into investments, into things that make money while they sleep. Robert Kiyosaki talks about this in Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and it's one of those concepts that's simple enough to get, but profound enough to actually change how you see money. The question isn't how much did I make, and the question is how much did I keep and what did I put it to work doing. The goal is to build what some people call a second engine, a stream of income. They're even a small income that isn't tied to your hours, because the moment you have income that doesn't require your time, you've started to break the geometry of the 40-hour trap. That could be dividend stocks, rental income, a small online business, content, royalties. It doesn't matter what the vehicle is. What matters is the principle. You want money that works when you don't. Thirdly, they guard their attention like it's their most valuable asset. Because it is. Here's something most people don't think about. The 40-hour work week controls your time, but advertising controls your attention. And your attention is what converts time into spending. You work 40 hours, you get paid, and then the system needs to make sure that money flows back out of your hands and into the economy. How does it do that? By capturing your attention during your free time and using it to manufacture desire. The average person sees somewhere between 4,000 and 10,000 ads per day. Every scroll, every show, every commute, every podcast break, it's all real estate that someone has purchased to show you something you should want. And the ads aren't random, they're targeted. They know your age, your income bracket, your recent purchases, your insecurities, your aspirations, and they use all of that to make sure you feel a quiet, low-grade sense of lack. Like you're almost there, like the next thing will be the thing. This is why intentional media consumption is one of the most underrated financial decisions you can make. What you watch, what you scroll, what you listen to, it shapes what you want, and what you want determines where your money goes. Start paying attention to how you feel after spending time on social media versus after spending time reading, building, or creating something. The difference is stark. One fills the tank, one empties it. Fourth, and this one's going to sound counterintuitive, they don't try to escape the 40 hours immediately. They use it as a launch pad. Because here's the thing about where most people go wrong. They get inspired by content like this, or a book, or a podcast, and they decide they're going to blow everything up, quit the job, start the business, go all in, and sometimes that works. But most of the time, the financial pressure of having no income kills the dream before it starts. The smarter play in most cases is to stay in the 40 hours while you build the alternative. Use the job for what it actually is, a guaranteed, consistent cash flow that you can redirect. Pay yourself first, automate the investment, build the side thing on evenings and weekends, not instead of the job, but alongside it. And when the alternative income reaches a meaningful threshold, that some people say 50% of your salary, some say equal to it, then you make the leap. That's not a small goal, but it's a real one. And it's achievable in a way that just quit and figure it out isn't for most people. There's a quote I keep coming back to, and I'm going to paraphrase it because I want it to land right. Jim Rohn said that if you don't design your own life plan, chances are you'll fall into someone else's plan. And guess what they have planned for you? Not much. That's it. That's the whole thing. The 40-hour work week is someone else's plan. The weekend shopping cycle is someone else's plan. The upgrade your lifestyle every time you get a raise cycle is someone else's plan. And it's not malicious in some comic book villain way. It's just the system doing what systems do, perpetuating itself, keeping the wheels spinning. But here's what's true that nobody can take from you. You get to decide when you wake up to it. And once you're awake, you can start making decisions that are actually yours. So let me wrap this up by bringing it back to Monday morning. The alarm goes off. You're not ready. But this time something's different because now you know why the alarm goes off at that particular time. You know what the structure was built to do. You know about the Diderot effect and lifestyle inflation and the 70% consumption economy and Henry Ford's real motive. You know that the 2 days you get at the end of the week were designed to be a rest and spend cycle, not a build your future cycle. And knowing that changes things, not overnight, not dramatically, but quietly in the decisions you make with your next paycheck, in what you do with the next Sunday instead of dreading Monday, in the subscription you cancel, in the $200 a month you automate into an index fund, in the hour you spend learning something that builds the second engine. The system is real, the design is real, but so is your ability to work within it while building something outside of it. And that's not idealism, like that's math, that's history. That's what the people who figure this out actually do. The wheel doesn't stop, but you can start building a door. So the question I want to leave you with, and I want you to actually sit with this, not just move on to the next video, is this. What is one decision you've been making on autopilot that the system designed for you? And what would it look like to make that decision consciously instead? Because that one question taken seriously is worth more than any raise, any bonus, and any promotion the 40-hour life has to offer. Think about it, and then do something with the answer. If you enjoyed this video, check out this next video and hit that subscribe button. Thanks guys, stay superior.